the channel and another World Cup design playthrough. And this is Cypria by nogoal05, who is a designer I don't know much about. At least not, the courses don't spring to mind off the top of my head, but that's cool. It's nice to discover newer guys through these competitions and get to track what they're doing. Now, he's in a group with Petty and Rhino, and that's kind of the main rivalry going in, so it'd be cool to see if someone can upset that. Now, he says blue is primary tees, so we're going to play off that, which makes sense. They're back tees. Yeah. And let's go with pin. Let's go 4 for this one. Now, other things he said, greens are set at 159, but should be playable at very fast as well. I'm not touching very fast. But that's cool to know. Medium, tough CC elite, what most people are going for in terms of difficulty, and no real life courses that inspired this, which is also fine. So let's go with this. Right. Kicking off now. Right, okay, so we've got kind of that very sun-drenched look, which is a double-edged sword, particularly in this game. I love the kind of old school Delta look is something that's always really appealed to me. We've got the world's most fantasy driving range. Got proper cliffs. Cool. The sunken rocks going into them. I mean, I guess you're always looking from this direction, so yeah, that looks fine. I will say that it is very dark. Yeah, I'm going to agree with Jay. Oh, wait, one sec. We're going to switch over to the one that shows the chat box. Ignore the thing there. There we go. Now you get the chat box so that people on YouTube can see what we're saying. Big, bold bunkers, which we like because that allows you to then... That fits in with the big, wide surfacing you've done. Kind of a river going through as well. Plot itself is interesting. It's definitely in the fantasy kind of style. I kind of initially thought we were going out to coastline, but I've since realised it's an island. Plot-wise, does remind me a little bit of Cayuma Bay that I did way back when, which I had a load of fun with. It's like and the whole designs look interesting. I'm assuming we're going this way on this one. I don't really know. Or are we playing? We'll figure it out as we go. But yeah, lots of cool stuff going on. We've got cypress trees. I can see what you mean where you haven't necessarily based it on a specific course, but kind of more fantasy style. Hey, Bryn. Yeah, all well, thank you. We've got lots of bridges. Like, this is just going to be interesting. And I think you've clearly had a lot of fun with this. Also kind of reminds me of like the Sindre style course, which is very much in that fantasy realm. And yeah, I really appreciate the clubhouse. That's cool. Obviously it's overgrown. Clubhouses have to be overgrown. Loads of effort gone in there with retaining walls and what have you. Yeah, you clearly spent a lot of time on this. Wow. Let's get in. Looking forward to it. Okay, so first tee way back up here, obviously doing really elevated tees. Now that lighting is super low, which means when we're going into it, it's going to be pretty blinding. Green kind of feels a little bit like it's sloping the wrong way. If you look at where the high side of the land is here, you'd be expecting it to go that way a bit more. Not a big thing, but might work a little neater. And actually I quite like this little tier here that encourages you to hug this side to get up to this bit, get around that bunker. Bunkers where you place them look really good. Yeah, I'd probably go that way. Big, bold opening tee shot. I would have liked to have seen you remove, or moving these trees like a little bit further this way, opening up a bit more space, and that view of the water would have been great, I think. Sometimes just freeing up and like show the big view would be really good. Like I might move this tree as well. It's very easy when you start out to just keep planting trees, and actually sometimes just fewer can be better. Anyway, I don't really want to take on the water. I don't think I have to for this front pin, so anywhere over here is good. I think you possibly scope these bunkers up a little bit more, at least at the back, or drop the front down. They work, but I think it would be quite cool to, you could have them as a bit of an intimidation hazard where they look like they're tucked right up against the green. And again, the other thing I'd try to work on sculpting wise is, you see how it's going, natural land is clearly going from high to low. I can see it okay. I think you probably want to bump, it'll be one of those you want to bump the brightness up for sure. But you can see how flat all of this is. And some of the ways you can do that, obviously your green surface needs to be quite flat, but you can show a bit more by sculpting the bunker up a bit, sculpting the mound up a bit, like lowering down here a little bit more. Like, it's not flat land. Let's try and make it not seem like that. And those sorts of undulations in this lighting will really pop. Good opening hole though. That should be all right. I really wish low lighting did look better in this game. It's something that we used as such a staple for a long time. It's a shame that it now gets into the sun is just really challenging to do well, which is partly why you got this tree here, I suspect, to avoid the glare, which is a sensible move. Okay, second hole. Big bunkers over here. Bunker that way. I do like the little lagoon that you got there as well. There's lots of aspects on this that I just find really pleasing. I'm a sucker for this sort of Delta style course. Hey, Rhino, we're going to get to yours next. We figured we'd scope out the competition first. Green itself is interesting. The slopes here kind of feel a little bit random. I don't know that this green is necessarily paired with the tee shot to encourage me to go a certain way or reward a certain shot. The only other thing I would say that you will notice is you've done a lot of, you've done a lot of single trees. So like one, then space, one, then space, one, then space, one, then space, one, then space. And that's something certainly I used to do before you start really looking at real courses and like really looking at how it is in nature. They tend to cluster more. So you tend to have kind of groves of trees and have a lot of them in one space rather than just individual dotted around. I think if you go with that, that'll make a big difference to your planting as well. This is nogoal. Nogoal05, 6, 5, I think. I may have got that wrong in the title of the stream, I can't remember. Really poor first part. But I think that's a very cool green site. I would just like the green to have a bit more of an identity and know what it's trying to do. This looks, I mean, the planting looks good. I like the items you've chosen and worked together. What's going on with the waterfall? I probably wouldn't have blocked the waterfall all the way down. No. Should have some of these rocks, but show some of the splashes. There's a lot of stuff going on. Okay. This is an interest. And the bunkers and the natural areas you've got mean that you can have some really interesting fairway shapes and they work and make sense. I think you can probably tie this planting together a little bit more. So like a couple more bushes around here rather than clump of rocks and bushes, clump of rocks and bushes, clump of rocks and bushes. Like if we can make those a bit more cohesive, that would work nicely as well. This green works more, although I think I just want to play as far out here and get the angle, but still have a full wedge, probably. So I don't really need to take on the bunkers for this pin. Unless I'm missing. We'll find out. Yeah, I'm happy with 120 in. I think with that one, I'd have dissuaded this play a bit more because the way you've worked the green is trying to protect against this angle, right? So therefore, you want to defend as much as possible against this one. So if we go back to your overhead, your bunkers here they're really interesting, but again, the green's not really working with them because of where your green is. I don't want to play anywhere near these bunkers anyway. So I like them, and I like these bunkers, but the green sloping itself, something I might have done instead, well, probably could we have a more circular or smaller green, and rather than these 3 bunkers, bunker this side. So like you play closer to this, and then you've got a choice between, do you want the angle, in which case you go there, do you want distance, in which case you maybe go over, something like that. But I think looking at your green complex and tee shot combined would be really useful. And visually, I'm really liking the course. I knew that was going to struggle. I wasn't quite registering. Still got a putt. It's fine. Not quite on the ridiculous scoring rate we were yesterday. 166s, so on the faster side. Not quite that fast. Poor bogey. Deserved. But really solid. It looks good. Again, bringing the water in is really nice. I like that you haven't overdone the water. Like, it's kind of more there for visual than anything else, which is okay. Yeah, again, the green slopes just feel a bit kind of incidental. Because where this pin is, this slope doesn't really matter. This slope doesn't matter a huge amount, because if I'm hitting that, it's just pushing me in and I'm going off anyway. I'd probably be wanting this slope about here and this one about here as well, and then it can work a ball towards it. I think I like the idea. Tee shot is just trying to clear the bunkers, and I think strategy is probably your main thing that you want to be looking at. Just looking at these, it's the same sort of thing. Like the visuals and the technical stuff you've got. It's just how do we align that with the whole design and how you're sculpting your greens, where you're putting bunkers and things like that, to encourage people to take on those bunkers and take on that trouble. Because at the moment, it's kind of if you hit good tempo, you're scoring really well, I think. And you can see on the 2 holes where I didn't. Water in front may be becoming a little bit of a crutch for avoiding planting at this stage. One thing I would also say that you've done, I think 3 times now, is this little triangle cluster of bunkers on the inside of a dogleg, which I like. I think this is the least effective of the 3 you've done it, but I would just be really wary of overdoing it. I like these 3 bunkers, those frame really nicely, and I would love to be playing the approach shot from this sort of an angle. That would look phenomenal, and I'd be moving any amount of stuff on this hole to make that happen. So I think that sightline would be, yeah, pretty awesome. So let's look at the hole. Well, we can clear this and then we get a look down the green. Or if we play out to this side, we're then working around the trees and you kind of block the view of the really nice green that you have. We do also have that centerline bunker, so it's exaggerating the width, which makes the angles easier to work with, which I get. We're going to have to play out here. That's fine. It's a shame in this wind we get a... Yeah. I mean, you didn't specify a wind direction, I don't think, so that's alright. As for the green... See, this slope works better. Assuming you got a pin around about here, you've got enough slopes funneling the ball towards it. And on a long par 5, I don't mind a green that runs away from you. I would definitely have worked hard to open up this sightline though, because this is the first time we're really seeing the coast and we just can't see it, which is a shame. Loads of fairway around. I might have varied the size of one of these bunkers and made them a little smaller as well. Ooh, can we... I mean, there's still no way we're getting there, but... It just leapt way right. Shame. No worries, Jay. It's fine. It'll be. You can watch the rest of it later, or it'll be on YouTube in a couple of days. Yeah, love the green site. I think you could have just. It's just how do you get to that green site? This looks great. The planting down to the right here, you've tied those. So where I said earlier, tying the rocks together much more. This looks really, really good. That single tree. I mean, I know it's one of the new trees that looks really cool, but that does help. I'd probably lose these little ones. I think you don't want very many right out on the coast, or certainly on cliff sides. They don't really grow there. To be honest, I think your main thing that I will give you as feedback is you just need to look at a few more golf courses and like understand the surfacing and where people put bunkers and why, and also a little bit more about like a tiny bit more at planting, like looking really critically at how does that actually work in nature. It's one of the things that Jamie, so Golf Wolfies in chat, got me to do a while back, and it made a big difference. Previously I was just planting whatever I thought worked rather than really having a framework. Still something we work on, but good solid par 3. I didn't really have much to add. That's why we just talked over that one. Okay, central bunker. 0 bunkers around the green, which is a nice change of pace. I'm trying to think. The greens feel like they've mostly been raised up. Might be nice to have one in a bowl. The other thing I would say is your green sites have been solid. They haven't necessarily been spectacular. With one was very good. But like you see this one, for example, it's right in the middle of like this little copse, but it's been raised in every direction. So like this kind of green could go anywhere on the course. But where are we finding the really interesting greens? Like, could we tuck one, I don't know, just behind here somewhere? Like, that might be more interesting. Or could we be benching one into the hillside? Or could we be popping this one down in a bowl, like a little bit further back so the ball funnels towards it? Like, stuff like that. Because you can do a raised green anywhere on a plot. And maybe this is that one place, but something that leapt to mind. I'm enjoying my round, which is not always the case. I think the quality of the courses in the contest so far has been really, really good, which is pleasing. Okay, here we've gone for kind of a boomerang green. I would probably mound up this little spot just a bit more, but I do like that you've brought that out. That works really well. Yeah, I just exaggerate in here a little bit more and then gives you something to really think about. I think we probably need something going on here rather than just flat land, either a runoff, or I'd probably be straightening up the green shape a little bit. The green shape is a little bit wonky. Here, it kind of makes sense. I probably would cut it in a little bit more. But here, there's no real reason for this to be jutting in the way it is. Oh, and this is a really... Okay, one thing that has just kind of changed my mind is seeing the distance. It strikes me this green is a great green shape for like a wedge shot or like a 9 or 8 iron, something like that. Probably a 7 iron at push to the back pin, because it's really compartmentalised. You can't run the ball anywhere. But for a long hole, I don't really think you want to be doing this shape, because you can't land the ball here and run it up to a back pin. It's just a little bit... this sort of green shape is nice for target golf, where it's just land it where you end it, where you want to. For a longer hole, you want something a little bit more straightforward. It's also all very elevated. I think for such a long par 3, you always want to allow what slopes can I put around the hole so that someone can land a ball and it nudges them a little bit closer. Things like that. Oops. This is what happens when we don't pay attention. We're on 9 already. Okay, and we're driving straight at the clubhouse and walls. I applaud the ambition of the idea. It feels a touch clunky. But I guess it's fantasy style course, I don't really mind it. I might have liked to see fairway brought in around here a little bit more. Give us a little bit of a layup zone. Because it's very... You wouldn't lay up here because of the trees. But you've given us a load of space over here, so that works. Like, there's parts of this that you've really thought through nicely. We'll have a go at it, sure. We stayed left. I'm not very good at slinging it at the moment. Okay, let's see how it plays from up here. I mean, that's definitely not the miss. Whoops. Actually, I can probably hit this 100%. There's no way it's going full. Yeah, could have been worse. Again, I feel like you could have gotten rid of a few of these trees because we've got that really good view you've just seen heading back over to 1. Like, wouldn't it be great to see that hole? And losing a couple of trees would have done you the world of good there. I think the plot you've got is really, really interesting. I'm not sure it all quite... I don't know. It's fitted together better than I anticipated it would. See, again, you've got all of the really dramatic... Come back to green sites again. You've got really dramatic land. I love the ravine in front. I'd probably be lowering this little bit of planting even further and showing off more of the ravine. Moving your tee further to the edge as well would show off even more of that and make it look even more dramatic. Hey, Jack. Again, I think raising up the bunkers and sculpting them so they're a bit more curved, or like there's high points and then low points rather than one dead flat line, would really benefit your sight line here, because it does look very flat. It really gives me I mean, there's vibes of Pasatiempo and Bel Air's 10th here with the bridge across and a long approach. But again, the green itself could kind of exist anywhere on the plot. Like, you've got really dramatic land. Could we not bring the green a little bit closer to it? If you were to look at Pasatiempo's 18th hole, like, that'd be a really good example of how to take this really dramatic land and add a really dramatic green on it as well. I guess with your greens, I feel like they've all been a little bit on the safe side, in that they're all absolutely fine and there are no problems with any of them. But I think you could have got a better reward if you took a few more risks and tried some slightly different things. Huh. Never normally a massive fan of water right and left. And when we're chucking centerline bunkers in as well, I'd probably avoid doing this, but it kind of works because of the style of course that you've gone for, and it's very fantasy heavy. This green site's more interesting, and the orientation of the bunker's interesting, and like I did wonder on the flyover at the beginning where we were going to go with this one. So I think we want to be playing down this side. I think what my eye is really seeing if we're doing this hole is seeing something going round to the left. Like, that way you're hugging this creek and going round to the left. The problem we've got with the green shape you've got doesn't really encourage me to take either side, because I'm facing that big carry either way. I guess I get a shorter shot if I go here compared to going over here. So that part of it does work. If that's the case, then I think just lose this bunker. You need this one to stop me hitting dead down the centre. You don't need this one at all, really. I don't know if I feel comfortable here. Well, we should try. Does require you to buckle up a little bit, that shot. And then we've got, yeah, okay. And then the green itself isn't really receptive to this approach because it's all carry the whole way, and it honestly feels like a green that's designed to be approached this way. The bunker kind of suggests that as well. Yeah, that's all right. It's an interesting green site, but again, I don't think the shape of the green and the slopes of the green are really working with the rest of the hole. The green site here, though, where you've put it, is better. Nah, never high enough. Yeah, we're definitely working against the sunlight here. You've managed that really well, actually, so far. This green site I like a lot more. I think it's interesting on that little peninsula. There's no sort of a safe tee shot here whatsoever. I guess you can hit down to the fat of the fairway here. I might like a little bit more fairway, just a bit short. I'd typically be starting a fairway about 180, which I guess you've done. It's just because this bunker's huge, it's really interrupting. When you chuck the water left as well and water midway through, there's not a lot of the fairway that's miles away from a hazard, but I do think it's enough. Okay. This green feels more interesting. As in, you want to be controlling a wedge shot into a front pin, but it could provide you with a way to run down to here. That little back shelf requires some accuracy. I do feel that your greens are kind of designed from the point of view of just requiring an accurate shot rather than like creating 4 different zones for that. I might be wrong. Hey, Matt. Good to see you, buddy. We are playing Cypria, and we're going to leap into Rhino's one after this as well, because I believe they're competitors. And then I might be caught up with the main field courses. Okay, suddenly we got... It's not actually as far over here as I thought it was. Hello, Charlie. It looks like a really long way. But it's actually not too far at all. Yeah. Again, I like the green site. The shape and bunkers around it aren't really... Easy, Rhino. Yes, it is. Yeah, you do want... we knew it would happen. Yeah, you do want to tone down the super bright lighting. It's just... You probably want to raise your inclination a little bit. I think we're looking at sub 20 degrees here, and like it's difficult going below 30, I think. Hi, Matt. We are on... Yeah, so if you're just joining us, I know, sorry, YouTube people have just said this. We are playing nogoal06 Cypria, and then we're going to leap into Rhinos after this. Ugh. Dreadful bogey coming. Well, double bogey probably. Yeah. I just think the bunkers are kind of... I don't know if they're really serving much of a strategic purpose here other than just being around the green to... I guess, like, strategy-wise, the bunkers seem to be there to punish an already bad shot rather than making you consider playing a certain way, or they might be there for framing purposes. Right? The more you can get used to putting bunkers in places where they matter, and like a telltale sign for me is if you get a green like that one and you've got bunkers on every side, like 1, 2, 3. Yeah, one of them in isolation for sure. Like, don't get me wrong, let's leap back and look. Where were we? We were here. Yeah, I agree. This one works well because you've then got the green cutting in behind it, so therefore, and the mound. So therefore, it's kind of protecting that approach, which would make you want to stick to this side, which fits with the tee shot. And if we look at your tee shot, You've given us water on the left, bunkers on the right. Well, water's your bigger threat, so you get rewarded the more you play here. So can we come up with a green that's going to reward you for playing down the left, whilst kind of making you... Like, you could even lose these two bunkers and just let people play out here, but then they're hitting over this bunker, kind of road hole style. But as soon as you chuck this one in as well, and this one, it's just like a, well, it doesn't really matter too much where I go, because I'm always taking on one of those bunkers. And it's not one of those holes, I think, where the pin dictates where we play. This green site's interesting. I like the little dip in front of it. I think what would have been really cool would have been, again, tucking the green really close to it. Like, you've got this awesome natural hazard. Make the most of it. I think that's a common theme of this playthrough, really. Like, what you've got is really good, and the plot you've created is really interesting, and some of the features you put on here are really cool. It's now the challenge is learning how to harness all of that and like turn that into really interesting golf holes rather than just good golf holes that you could have kind of made anywhere. Oh, there's a swing line. Huh. Because again, the green kind of feels a bit divorced from the tee shot, because I've hit a tee shot somewhere down here and I'm just really trying to avoid the bunkers. But there's no advantage to playing near the bunkers because the green is just, I don't know, it's just side on. It's not really doing that much for it. There we are. I have really enjoyed the two downhill holes, so that 5th, the par 5, and 14, this one. The way you've transitioned to the ocean from downhill holes is always really cool. I also like that you're heading back inland as well. I might have dragged a bit of your planting down here, more diagonally as well. I think would have framed it really nicely. Again, we talked about how you break up that horizontal, that dead straight line, which doesn't look very natural. Like, that's your man-made bit where we've had to flatten everything out. It's got to look flat, but it's how do we distract from that? Well, chuck a diagonal line of planting down here. That will go a long way. Another long par 3. This one's better though, because you're allowing us a little bit more room to land the ball short. I think you can probably make this less of an upslope, but it's fine. And the green's got like a little bowl in front. This is one of the better greens you've got, for sure. And one of the better holes you've made. And I think that solitary bunker here works really nicely. I really don't know why these swings are happening. Odd. Oh well. Right. Look which flop it is. That's more like it. I would be worried at putting these greens on 186. It is. It's looking pretty terrible. Is your course hard, Rhino? Yeah. Okay. This one's a cool green site. I like that we've separated it. I think here there is a little bit more of a reward, particularly for a back pin. Playing close to these bunkers and can get a little bit more of an angle at that. But it feels like it's going to be a 3-shot par 5. Not necessarily every day, but a number of days. Particularly if you don't have the longest of the driver. I don't know. Very reachable. I really do think your green complexes are the area I would really start with working on. Because the tee shots and the land you're putting those on, I think, are really interesting. Once you start matching up that with a really good green complex and idea, then I think you'll make tons of improvements really quickly, and it will just unlock a few things for you. Because there's no better way to make a tee shot matter than have a green complex that rewards you from playing from one side of the fairway or another. So again here, because we're side on, I do like the mound at the front. That'll work really nicely for, like, where do you want to be, one side or the other? Does kind of depend on how long or short the hole is, though. This is cool. So here, based on your tee shot, you've given me a really risky tee shot option out to here. So I would be anticipating that the green, therefore, is going to reward me from playing here. Now, what do we mean by reward? Well, reward is I look straight down the green, so I've got loads of green lengthways to play with, or I don't have to take on any bunkers, or I'm playing, like, I've got a good chance to leave the ball below the hole. Those would be like your three major things. But actually, if I play here, well, I'm behind this bunker. So why would I take it on? Obviously, it could be a shorter shot, but chipping over a bunker is not necessarily a cakewalk. If I actually play over here, I don't have to take on any of that. So we're going to do that. So that's kind of one of the, I guess, exemplifications of what I'm saying about greens for you. Sculpting wise, you want to be playtesting from here so that you can just see that you can't see all the bunkers that you want to see. So like lowering this land in front of us would make a big difference. Alrighty. It's not a candy cane, but the tempo is dreadful. Never stood a chance where I was on that green. I think that green complex, again, is like, the mound in front is really cool, but it doesn't quite work with the tee shot. And we're up to 18, par 4. This course has kind of flown by. I like the dogleg up the hill. The green falling away from the line of play on a tight dogleg is pretty harsh, especially on a long par 4. Okay, so we're hitting somewhere down here. Just basically be close to the ravine, I think. Cool. Happy with light rough is fine. Yep, same thing with the greens. I think there's no reason to play this at anywhere else, really. Great look at the clubhouse, though. I think, much as I love the odd hidden pin behind here, and I really like it, I think for 18, I might not do this. I might have done this somewhere else. Like, two of your quirkier green positions have been on 9 and 18, where actually that's kind of the ones where you want probably a more standard one just in front of the clubhouse to really show that off. And like, don't make any, there's no shame of making 9 and 18 just like they're really good views. I approve of the clubhouse. The clubhouse is awesome. We'll have a quick look around for you. Like, there's so much good, and there's also further retaining wall work and stuff down here. And if Who Dat Matt approves of your clubhouse, you've done some really good work, seeing as he makes the best ones in the game. Him and Scottish, I think. But like, this little stuff has taken a ton of time. Yeah. Really impressive. No cars in the parking lot though. Obvious disqualification. No, I don't think I will either. It's like, I like creating clubhouses when I get in the right mood. I just don't have the vision to do something quite as big and bold as that. Huh. I've paid no attention to those last two putts, and I deserve that. That's fine, Charlie. I expect nothing less. You can just wave progression from your group goodbye. Right. Anyway, scorecard. As you can see, it kind of depended on whether I was hitting tempo or not, and I went on a good streak and then had some bad ones. So, things I would take from this. I think my main one, I've said it a lot on here, is just strategy is obviously a big thing for me, but it will make a big difference to how your course plays, particularly when you start tying the green complexes and how you're bunkering them in with the tee shot, and then that will suddenly unlock a load of stuff for you, and you'll start seeing hole design in a very different way. and it will just give you a bit of a framework as to why you're doing what you're doing. Because at the moment, what I feel you're doing is chucking down a lot of stuff in places where it looks pretty natural and looks good, which is great, and that's a good starting point, but there's not really an understanding of why you might be doing something and where you might be doing it and how that might impact how someone plays it. And for that reason, I thought the tee shots on the course were generally pretty good until I kind of realised they didn't really matter, and it therefore turned into just hit the fairway somewhere. And that's when I started scoring well on the back nine when my tempo was off before falling off a cliff again. I think there's loads of good. I would definitely change the lighting. I really like the planting and the environment you created. The clubhouse is amazing, as people are saying. Like, keep going with this. Dig into the strategy stuff. Dig into green complexes. That will make a big difference for you. A little bit on like the natural sculpting and I guess making your flattened moves look a little bit more natural and tidy. Right, those of you watching on Twitch, we're going to fire another one up immediately. You'll need to refresh the stream in a second. Those of you on YouTube, hope you've enjoyed, and see you again soon.